Good afternoon, America Uncensored. This is Dara. I am here with
Flo.
And we're super excited to be back this Thursday afternoon. Again, if you're joining us and wondering why we're here at 3 p.m., we've actually changed our time. So I hope that it is convenient for some of you that, I don't know, maybe the 11 o'clock time frame was not as good for some of us, especially some of us that are working during the daytime, in the morning, or whatever it may be. But this works for our schedule a little bit better. So again, thank you for coming back. And if you're going to be listening later, as we do know, we have some of our listeners that join in later on in the evening after work. Thank you for being our guest. So we have quite a few things we want to talk about today. And first, let's just start off with, how was your week, Flo?
It was good. Kind of hectic with work. Having, miscommunication in the workplace is the worst. But other than that, it's been pretty good. I'm still working on my health kick. I'm still on it. I'm doing okay.
All right.
Made just a few bad decisions, but I'm doing pretty good for the most part. How about you?
What's your health kick? What's the goal here?
I want to lose 500 pounds.
Along with the rest of America.
Yeah, so I haven't really started working out so much, but I'm trying to watch what I eat. And I'm a really picky eater, so it's rough.
Got it. And so this week, what's kind of the challenges of, I guess, staying on track for you?
Oh, God, distractions, now that, I don't know, just everything. I'm a bad eater, so.
Got it. Well, again, I think a lot of people can relate to that, but good job for staying on track for the week, and try to continue to do that. Also, I want to get into the fact that we are in such a cancel culture, and that seems to be a word that has been trending a lot lately, is cancel culture. Have you heard recently about, since you're Hispanic, Speedy Gonzalez?
I did. I heard something about him being canceled, and I can't even believe that we're going into like so many different things, like in depth and what we want to cancel and not.
Right. So they started off with, I don't know, those of you listening, Dr. Seuss. When I think of Dr. Seuss, I think of no race, to be honest with you. I don't think of a race when I think of Dr. Seuss. I don't think of I'm white. I don't think that Dr. Seuss was a white thing. And to be really honest with you, I never really was a crazy fan of Dr. Seuss, or honestly Mickey Mouse or Speedy Gonzalez or Tasmanian Devil or any of them. I never really latched on to a lot of things when I was younger like that. I did like the Power Rangers, oddly, which is so funny because it's a mixture. You had your white guy, white girl, you had Asian, you had just a bunch of different things, and I don't know, for myself though, I never really put race to my cartoons or to any of the shows that I was growing up watching. And, I never thought when I was, I'm sure you remember Urkel. Do you remember Steve Urkel?
I do.
I feel like when I was watching that show, I never looked at Urkel outside of anything else but kind of an annoying nerd that was in love with his neighbor.
Yeah.
And so it's just really weird to me to think that like we're going so in depth with how cartoons are offending people. So what is your thought on that? Like Speedy Gonzalez, if somebody's like, hey, there's a really fast animal, Speedy Gonzalez, like, are you like, oh no, that's me, I'm Hispanic?
Was Speedy Gonzalez a rat? I just want to know what kind of animal he was, first of all.
I mean, but even knowing the animal, does that bother you?
No, like it was just something funny. I don't understand. I really don't understand. And like you were talking about Dr. Seuss, and I want someone, like if one of our listeners is listening and they've heard anything about why Dr. Seuss was being canceled for the racist, quote unquote racist remarks, I want to know exactly what it was they were talking about, because I'm not 100% on it. But when I think of Dr. Seuss, I think of like Dr. Seuss had like literally the thing that pops to mind is like that red fish, blue fish story,
One
whatever.
fish, two fish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I literally think of like green people.
Right.
Or orange people. Like, I don't think of black or white or Mexican or whatever. I literally think of like colorful, like when I'm thinking about their books and stuff, they're like super colorful. Like, there's nothing to me that stands out that would be remotely racist. So I need to know what it is.
Right. You don't think of race. And right now we say Danny's joining us on the live stream. He said Power Rangers was originally a Japanese show called Super Sentai, I believe. He said it's a useless fact for the day, but it's all about culture now. I feel like people are getting so engaged with, this is my culture, no, this is your culture, this is, we're allowed to have this, we're not allowed to have this. And I don't know, I feel like it's actually taking away what we're fighting for. And I remember asking someone about my white privilege. This was years ago.
Okay.
It's been something that, honestly, I've dealt with hearing that word for a very long time. And it never bothers me, though. I actually have taken it as a joke. I don't know if any of you guys have watched Dave Chappelle or anything like that, or even Saturday Night Live, but I've been watching white people get made fun of for like 30 years. So, and it never bothered me, like white chicks, all that stuff. I thought it was hilarious. I had a point behind this, but I think that knowing that I get to see a lot of white people on TV, and I grew up watching that, right? Mm-hmm. So I was always told by other races that that's the problem. That is the white privilege, is I didn't get to see little girls in movies when I was younger that were looking like me, right? That had my hair, that had my skin color. And I really kind of, I took that to heart. And I really recognized that. And I was like, yeah, you know what? I never was like really big on that. I don't know. I didn't have that issue. So it makes me wonder, are they not proud that these characters represented their culture? And, Speedy Gonzalez, everybody loves Speedy Gonzalez. I actually had someone on Facebook the other day that one of my friends, his name is Marcus, he said, my dad, he was talking about him, I think he said his dad had a tattoo of Speedy Gonzalez.
I think I know someone who does too.
Yeah,
So
it was kind of like a really popular thing. And, actually my brother-in-law has a tattoo. His name's Casper, oddly. He's white. But he has a tattoo of the Tasmanian devil on him. Uh-huh. And that was just kind of a cool thing. We kind of identify with different things. But this cancel culture word that everybody's using, I feel like we're kind of getting carried away with it now.
Yeah.
And, I just thought of this right now. This was my whole point, you guys. Do y'all remember Stuart Little? The mouse?
The little white mouse?
Right. Mm-hmm. What do you think is going to happen next with Stuart Little? Because if I wanted to just be a Karen, I guess, quote unquote, which is, if you are tuning in and don't know what a Karen is, basically it is a white woman that complains about everything and causes big deals out of things that really aren't big deals, or whatever you might want to kind of relate that with. That's kind of what I've gotten of the Karen. But if I wanted to be a Karen, could I not say that Stuart Little is racist?
Why is that?
Because he's white, he's little, his name's Stuart. He's got like overalls on. He wears like little glasses sometimes. He drives a little Corvette that's like topless. Like, clearly that's a little white mouse, right? So I just want to know, like, what do you think that would be justified? Like, do you think that if a white person is taking offense to an animal or a cartoon, that it would be taken serious?
I don't take any of that serious.
Exactly.
I really don't know. And I want to know, how do people have time to take offense to these little things?
It's unbelievable.
I need to know, like, what are you doing with your life if you have time to seriously be offended by a Spanish-speaking rat on a cartoon show?
Well, the latest, I don't know if you guys have heard, but is Pepe Le Pew. And Pepe Le Pew, if you guys are...
He's French.
Is he French? Is Pepe Le Pew French?
I thought so.
What I want to know is, what if you guys are tuned in right now? Is anybody familiar with Pepe Le Pew? Did anybody watch Pepe Le Pew? And if so, what kind of offense do you take? And it's sexual harassment is what they're carrying on about Pepe Le Pew.
Oh, I
It's
think I
sexual
know.
harassment.
Yeah, because he was always like,
Yeah, he was
flirting,
like,
you know?
"Mwah, mwah."
Yeah, I remember now. Oh my God, you just took me back.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy though.
Yeah, that
And
is crazy.
I just want to know whatever happened to if you don't like it, change the channel.
Yeah, or like,
But you know what? We are in a culture now, you guys, where we are saying, hey, sweetie, you're 4, and I know you're 4, but guess what? If you want to go ahead and be a grown man, and yes, you were born a little girl, but if you want to be a grown man, you can be a grown man. We're in a culture where we're allowing children to dictate what our future should look like. And what I want to know though is at what point do we as parents or adults say, hey, you know what? I don't really like that this show is showing a lot of kids shooting guns at each other, so I'm going to change the channel. I'm not going to write Fox 26 and say, you know, hey, we should cancel this show because it's promoting kids with toy guns and playing cowboys and Indians, which I don't even know if I'm allowed to say cowboys and Indians anymore.
probably not.
No, right? And so I don't know if you guys have heard this and talks of everything we are and talking about being adults and what we should allow the children to kind of dictate, I guess, you know, is we're canceling all kinds of cartoons. We're kind of canceling our childhood. And it's scary because what happens in 15 years, and, you know, we have Miss Urbina just said, I don't watch TV at all except for the old shows. And you know what? That's kind of like, I enjoy the old shows because there was barely any sensitivity. Yeah. And now people are, if you guys ever have a chance also, watch Roseanne. Whether you like the woman or not, if you could sit down and watch one episode of Roseanne, everyone today would be like, how is she not in jail? She talked to her kids like, you know, a certain way. Her kids were at the table and she'd be like, you ain't gonna eat it? We'll go to bed starving. I don't care. Well, shoot, actually, pack your bags and you can go live underneath the bridge. That's how she talked to her kids.
Yeah.
I mean, and, you know, and Dan, like, you know, she'd call her husband fat. Her kids would be out, like, running the streets at night. Like, if you can, just watch one episode of Roseanne so next Thursday we can talk about it. I think we should, too. Like, let's sit down and watch one of those
Growing
episodes.
up, I never really cared for the show, but I have seen it. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And if there were a show nowadays, it would be canceled immediately if that were the case for many different reasons.
Yeah, no, I agree.
But seriously, I think that, you know, people that are just complaining about every little thing, like maybe they need to talk with me for a little while. I'll give them some real problems to complain about because this is just, it's becoming ridiculous.
Absolutely. And, you know, Mr. Garza said, what I don't get is Speedy was the good guy and he outsmarted the villain all the time. Mm-hmm. And, you know, he's saying we could basically argue that it paints Hispanics in a good light.
Yeah.
You know, and that's...
I could see that, yeah.
Right. You know, like, that's something to, like, look up to is you know, like, oh, look, his last name is Gonzalez. My last name is Gonzalez. Oh, that's of the Hispanic culture. You know, there's so many different things that we could actually hear painted in a good way. You know what I mean? And yeah, Danny was saying Roseanne is still on. Yeah, it's crazy. You know, actually Roseanne was casting the new upcoming season and whatnot, and she got into this huge mess. Miss Urbina said, I'm waiting on them to go after the Western movies, Little Rascals and etc. And
oh my God, I loved the Little Rascals.
I loved the Little Rascals. I loved it.
My 6-year-old loves the Little Rascals.
Do you remember Little Big Giants and just like
yes,
like The Big Green was a soccer movie I liked. There's just so many things that it's sad thinking that our childhood could be erased.
Yeah.
Because of people just don't think that anything's fair enough. And it's what we're teaching these kids, you guys, and it's what we're allowing them of being like, oh, sweetie, you don't feel comfortable in this classroom right now because this teacher talks too loud. Here, let me go get you a teacher that doesn't talk as loud. Oh, this teacher, and these are the parents, you guys, in my opinion, that are ruining children. They're ruining them.
Yeah.
Because you're giving them the out that when this doesn't fit your narrative, we get up and we leave.
Yeah.
When this doesn't fit your narrative, we cancel it. That's not real life.
Yeah, what happened to life is hard, you suck it up, you deal with what you're dealt, you make it better on your own.
Yeah, I have no idea. And I don't think that that we're in a position in our world right now to even be able to tell anyone what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And speaking of what's appropriate and not appropriate, I know that you were watching something recently that really kind of ruffled your feathers a little bit.
Okay, so I may ruffle some feathers here, but I am just stating my opinion before anyone comes for me. So I watched a video that was basically a mom reading a book that is actually out there. I mean, it's kind of crazy to me. And me, myself, coming, a lot of you don't know me personally, but I am a member of the LGBT community and proud of it. And this mom was reading her son, who was about 2 years old, a book called The Gay ABCs. And I am all for, obviously I'm gay, I'm a lesbian, so I'm all for it. Like, I in no way, shape, or form discriminate against anybody in the LGBT community. But the problem that I have with is teaching a 2-year-old certain words, like A is for ally, B is for bisexual, C is for coming out. My 2-year-old doesn't need to know those things.
Right.
Like, that's like teaching a 2-year-old about the birds and the bees, giving them that talk at such a young age. And I'm all for it when your child is old enough and asks questions and knows, because I'm going to have to do that soon. Like, my daughter's 6 years old. She knows about my lifestyle. Obviously, she sees it. She has 2 moms. She knows she has 2 moms. She's asked maybe once or twice, why don't I have a dad? And my response has just been, hey, you're special. You got 2 mommies. It's pretty cool. And that's it. And she's like, yeah, you're right. I am special. And that's all we've gone into. But eventually one day I'm going to have to sit down and have that conversation with her as to why I don't have a husband. Why do I have a wife? Why do I have this? Why don't I do this? And I feel like it's an age appropriate thing. People will argue with me all day long whether or not it's discrimination if you don't tell kids or teach children these things about the LGBT community. And I'm okay with that, but it's the age appropriate part that I have a problem with. Like, there's a reason why when you go to the store and you buy a toy, it says 5+, because it's not safe for kids under 5 years old.
Right.
I feel like this topic and the gay ABCs should not be a thing for children. I don't even know what age would be appropriate, honestly.
Well, here's my thought on that is this kind of goes back to what we were just talking about, and this is why I wanted to end with this topic with this is, what about how we were just talking about if you don't like Pepe Le Pew, then change the channel.
Right.
If you don't want your child to learn the gay ABCs, don't teach it to them. And why don't we just say that's not what I like and move on with our business? The problem that we're running into is they want it to be put into schools. They want it to be, this is okay, but that's not okay. And that's what I don't agree with, because what about those that think that we should have prayer in school?
Right.
Well, we do have prayer in school, but you have to go into a Catholic school or this school, and you got to pay a lot of money for that. But that's the issue that I'm having is, if we don't like it, just don't worry about it. I mean, you're not going to teach your child those ABCs, right?
Right.
They actually just recently, you guys, if you don't know, did just change the ABCs and the way that it's sung. It used to be A, B, C, D, E. We all know it. That was kind of how we grew up. They've actually, if you don't know, they've changed it. They don't sing it that way. It's really crazy, actually. But, ending out on this topic of just kind of the cancel culture and our poor innocent old cartoon members. I feel bad for them. I feel bad for the kids nowadays. And
Bugs Bunny's next for hunting.
yeah, I mean, we can go on and on. We can find a reason
to
why
cancel everyone.
Everything's going to be canceled.
Yeah.
Somebody said the other day, I was laughing. They were like, we're going to get to a point where everyone's so offended, we're going to not even be able to speak. We're going to have to be like, We're going to only be grunting.
That's
because
hilarious.
You're not allowed to say anything.
You grunted at me too loud. Now I'm offended.
Right. Like, we're not allowed to say anything anymore.
Wow.
Because we're just super sensitive to the fact. And, I think it's time that we toughen up. And I was saying a little speech the other day. For those of you that are listening that don't know, I actually got my certification in life coaching.
Congratulations.
And so, thank you. And so, in talking to certain people or going through certain situations to better whatever area it is in life, relationships, financial, business, I was talking to them and I was talking about how we have to adapt, right? It's something that's very important, is adapting to culture, adapting to our lifestyle. And you've heard me say it a million times, give it up for the cockroach. It is still around. It is adapted through everything. But at the end of the day, you know what the cockroach still is?
A cockroach.
That's right. So it doesn't mean that we have to not be who we are at the end of the day, but we have to adapt to certain things in society. But I do believe that the moment that we started giving out participation trophies, the sport was not as important. Right. The hustle, the grind, the nitty gritty was not as serious.
I'm gonna say something on that just quickly because, like I mentioned last week, my daughter played t-ball and refused to stand on the field. Literally, we had to bribe her. She thought t-ball was a time to sit in the dugout and eat snacks. That was her deal. That's what she liked to do. But she was there for the medal. She knew she was going to get a little gold medal that, she knew she was going to get something at the end of the day. So she had no reason to work hard like the other kids were. She had no drive to want to do better. And that goes in with what you're saying. Like if everyone is given a medal for participation, nobody's going to want to put in the effort to work hard to win.
Well, and it comes down to this. I like to compare, just so people can understand. I like to compare that participation trophy with an adult, okay? An adult scenario. Now, Flo, if I told you, hey, listen, you can wake up every morning at 5 a.m., clock in for work from 6 to 4, right?
Okay.
Every day. This is Monday through Friday, off on the weekends. We're going to give you a salary of $60,000 a year for doing that, okay?
Oh, okay.
Or you can not clock in every day, Monday through Friday, and we're still going to pay you $60,000 a year. Which one is more enticing to you?
I'm lazy, so I'm gonna do the one with no work.
And you're still gonna, but don't worry, you're not gonna work. But guess what? We're gonna give you that $60,000 regardless.
Yes.
So why does that seem silly? I'll use that word, silly. Why does that seem like that's stupid? That's not gonna happen.
Because why would anybody work if you
because
could just
it's
get it for
not
free?
Real, and that's we're setting our kids up for failure. You want to work hard, and this is the problem I had the other day. For those of you listening that know that I also instruct martial arts, I had to give stripes away the other day, and the other day I did a testing, and these are for ages of like 4. I think I was like doing 4 to 7 years old, let's just say. And about 15 people got stripes on their belt in a class. And there's about 15 in class. And all except for 3 got stripes on their belt. And the kids that I didn't give the stripes to, you guys, were literally age 3. One of them was a little girl. She's the youngest one I have in my class. 3, 4, and I think 5 years old. Everyone else got their stripes. So I'm calling these kids up and I'm like, all right, give your hand up for Johnny, and like Johnny's getting his stripe today because he's been showing a great attitude, knows all of his moves. Everybody give it up for Johnny. And so everybody's like drum roll, getting excited and stuff like that, right? Parents are outside because we don't let them in because we're in this huge apocalypse pandemic, and they're looking through the mirror or through the windows. They can't hear me, but they see the kids like getting excited and they're seeing me call them up one at a time. And then I don't call up 3 students, right? So I say, okay, everybody, class is going to be dismissed. Whenever I say go, you can run and get your shoes on. And I said, but after class, I said, when I call your name, this person, this person, this person, come and see me. I dismissed them and I called all 3 kids up, right? Because I'm like, we're about to see waterworks. Something might happen here. But that's not the way I'm training my students. I'm not training them to know that they're going to just get something for showing up. I said, okay, you guys, we have to work a little bit harder. Next time I see you, I need you to show me those moves. Can we do it? And they were like, yes, ma'am. They're just so innocent, so pure and everything. And I'm not looking at them to be Bruce Lee right now, but eventually. But
that's the goal.
That's the goal, right? No, but I want them to understand that it's not just going to be given. And I walked outside because I was nervous that the parents are going to be like, "Why didn't little Johnny get their stripe on their belt? We're hitting out of Dodge. We're going somewhere where they're going to give us everything." These parents know how I am. I walked outside and I said, hey, so they didn't receive their stripes. I said, but we do have an online YouTube channel. I can give you the moves and also keep consistently bringing them. They're just going to be stationary doing X, Y, and Z of the moves. And I want to just teach them that they're not just going to get anything. And the moms were like, oh, yeah, no, this is great. Like, they need to learn that it's not just going to be given to them because what you said about your daughter showed up.
Yeah.
So I know that was a little dragged on, but these are real life scenarios. This is real life. And I think on my way of teaching and guiding and leading and mentoring a child is you let them know that there's going to be setbacks.
Right.
There's going to be these setbacks. There's going to be these times where things aren't a little bit as fair as we might think, right?
Right.
And, I saw that earlier Jason Castillo said he watched a video of a mom talking about how her baby's gay and the baby was 9 months old.
That's ridiculous.
It's these things that parents, if you want to push your child into becoming themselves, push them to where they know who they really are. When you get out there and you're on the floor and you're giving 100% and you're sweating and you're crying and you find your inner self of I can do so many things, like anything I can do, like anything that I do, I'm capable of doing with greatness if I put my mind to it. Mm-hmm. Let your child learn that. And then afterwards, let your child say, yeah, you know what? Actually, fighting's not really my sport. I kind of like cheerleading.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But putting into the kids' heads that you can do anything, you can be anything, but if it hurts your finger, we're not doing it. But if you don't get that stripe, we're not doing it. And so at 9 months old, I mean, I don't care who you are. We're going to just never agree. I don't think it's appropriate. I think people are baiting for attention.
Yeah.
And that's where we are with that. I think people just want the shock, they want the attention, and they want us to do what we're doing right now, which is talking about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I can't deal with it, you guys. We're getting to a time where, people are losing friends, family, and so much more, not because of the race they are. And this is ridiculous. It's not your race. It's not your sexual preference. It's not your place of business. It's because of what you stand for.
Yeah.
And it's hard for me to have a conversation. I could never have a conversation with another person who's like, well, this is my 2-month-old. My 2-month-old is actually going to be an Olympic gold medalist in basketball. It just doesn't make sense, right? None of that makes sense. Like, what are you talking about?
How do you know that?
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. Like, when people, that's how I would hear it. Like, what are you talking about? I don't even get it.
Yeah.
But we got to do better. I think we got to do better as a human race.
Yeah, we have to teach these kids, like you said, that they will have setbacks in life. Life is not easy, and I feel like we're almost setting them up for failure when we're not teaching them that not everything is going to go as you plan.
Absolutely. I had a guy, and this is the last story, and then I want to talk about you guys mask off because our mandate got lifted as of yesterday. But just to end it out on this, a guy contacted me because he wanted his daughter to participate in martial arts. I asked him what specifically he was looking for his daughter to accomplish in training in martial arts. She's 4, by the way, which is a perfect age to start in martial arts. But I said, what would you like to accomplish, for your daughter? And he said, well, I don't know, but I do know that I want her to eventually compete. So me, I'm all about that. Those are the students that I want, because that means mom, dad, whoever's at home, family member, they're there for the push. And
Right.
if they want their kid to compete, that means they want their kid to work, because we all know with competition comes hard work.
Right.
So I said, okay, that's great. I gave him all this information and stuff. And I said, well, that Fridays are the days that we do sparring. And I said, it's going to be full gear, head gear, chest guard, hand protection, foot protection, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, well, I don't know if, he said, money's not an issue, but I don't really know if I want to get her that right now, because I don't know how comfortable she would feel doing sparring. And I don't want her to feel uncomfortable.
But you just said you wanted her to compete.
So I went ahead and was like, rewind. I was like, I noticed that earlier you said you were looking for your daughter to eventually compete. Can you elaborate on what you would specifically like her to compete in? Like,
Have her join the chess club.
like, I don't get it. You contact, okay, so, hey, I want my son, I want him to play soccer. I don't want him to do any kicking, though. I don't want to do any kicking. I don't want him to have to kick the ball at all. Not with his foot. Goalie, maybe, but I don't want him to kick.
I also don't want him to run.
Right. So it's just like how we can protect our kids, but at some point, you got to understand what kind of kids you're raising, period, at the end of the day. So moving forward, you guys, mask off. Flo, how do you feel? Have you been taking your mask off, or are we mask on?
No, I haven't. I feel like a lot of places, I haven't really been to many places since yesterday, obviously, but I feel like a lot of places that I've seen on social media and on the news, and just a lot of places in our area are still going to require masks. Like we spoke about it a little bit last week, and like HEB,
Right.
they're still going to require masks. And I haven't heard any places advertising like, hey, we're not requiring masks, come on over.
Right. I know specifically a lot of people are on one side or the complete opposite. One side of the spectrum is, thank God the masks are off. Also, a lot of those same people, they didn't wear masks at all. I actually know a few people who haven't worn a mask this entire pandemic and really have not had any kickback for it either.
Wow, really? They've been to public places and haven't had to wear a mask?
Correct.
Wow. Everywhere that I've gone, they have, like, just for instance, like off the top of the head, like Target, Walmart, Home Depot, just the stores around our area.
Draft, you went to a few bars.
Yeah. Everyone has someone at the door. If you don't have a mask, here's one. And they give you a disposable one before you can enter the establishment.
Right. But we are now mask free, quote unquote, sort of. I don't know. We're in a very weird time now, and I will just say, I have my mask on whenever I went into HEB, and I went to the corner store right down the street from where I live here in Cy-Fair, and I went inside to get a coffee actually, and when I did, I had my mask on, and I went up to the register and I had some lottery tickets. That's what it was. I had lottery tickets that I wanted, scratch offs that I wanted to get the money from. It was like $17. And I went up to the front, and this gentleman was like, thank you for being so considerate. Some of us aren't. And I was like, oh, I figured he was talking about my mask or whatever. And I turned around. The lady behind me didn't have her mask on.
Oh, wow.
And so he kind of spoke of that. And, it made me think a couple of things. One, we don't know if she had a health issue, number one. Mm-hmm. We also don't know if she's just like, I am over the mask thing. I wanted, I'm allowed to not wear it. I want to just be free in that sense. There was nothing on his front door that said mandatory masks. Mm-hmm. It was lifted. And I don't know. I kind of feel very back and forth about it, because are you okay with being shamed for not wearing it?
I mean, it's been happening this whole time. Now I think people can just argue, well, it's not mandated anymore, so now you really can't tell me nothing.
Right.
You know?
Right. And I see that Mr. Urbina said extremely excited, but government buildings, you still are required.
Yeah.
Mr. Garza said Lifetime Fitness is the only business I know that stopped requiring masks. So inside of my facility at the martial arts facility, we are doing masks, and I have a few reasons behind it. One, we have had several breakouts of COVID inside the facility, and we're talking from adults to children, to where it almost wiped out the entire staff on the childcare side of the building. And just because also I am connected to a childcare facility, we actually, I just found out, have to follow different regulations. So we're following the childcare's regulations, and they have not yet lifted anything for masks. So, and that's something that I just found out. And I didn't know. I was like, well, Greg, Abbott said that, it's whatever. Their laws are so intense.
I did see something. I can't remember exactly what district it was, but I did see that there was one school district that has lifted it.
Is it Magnolia?
I want to say it was Magnolia. I was going to say it's Magnolia, Montgomery, one of those with the M.
Something like that.
But yeah, they lifted it, so the kids that are doing, in school, I don't even know if they're doing virtual, to be honest with you. But I do know that in schools, they're not required to wear masks anymore.
That's good. That's good. And I think that we should get down to a pro-choice here. Yeah. You know what I haven't understood, though, and please help me if I'm wrong. Please. Okay. Because I don't understand it. And I feel like an idiot. And if you guys are listening, just laugh at me or just give me the answer. So I never understood how they said the mask isn't for you, it's for other people. Isn't it the same thing that would go out would come in? Do you know what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
Like, so I'm going to wear a mask to protect you, but my mask doesn't protect me.
It doesn't protect you, I think, if I'm not wearing a mask.
Right, but how?
It's covering the same thing, though. I get what you're saying.
Okay, so see, I feel like an idiot. Like, no. I really do.
No,
I've never understood it.
The thing that I still don't understand, and a lot of places still requiring a mask, like, I feel like restaurants and bars specifically should just do away with the mask.
I agree.
Because you use it to walk in the front door, but the minute you sit at your table, COVID doesn't know you're sitting at a table anymore.
Right.
You could take your mask off, you know?
Right. No, absolutely.
That was like my biggest argument with Walmart closing at 8. Like, oh, COVID only comes out at night.
That's right. Yeah. No, I really don't understand. But I never understood. And this is still like, it literally freaks me out because I'm like, so you're telling me if I have a mask on, I am not protected, but I am protecting you. Right. But I don't get that.
You know what? I read something the other day, said the exact same thing, only the word mask was changed with the vaccine. So they were basically telling people, like, you get the vaccine and you're going to save other people's lives around you.
But it's not going to save yours.
Yeah, that's so strange.
It's so weird. Like, I really just can't follow that.
I can't either.
For as much as I want to. And, speaking of mask mandates and following all these rules, we had a big bill that just was passed. And I believe it was actually $1.9 trillion. I could be off a little bit, but I believe it was like 1.9. We're not talking thousands, millions, billions. We're talking trillions of dollars. Which is insane to me to think that we even have all of that.
How many zeros is that?
Yeah, I've never even heard of it. Like, I don't think, like, even as an adult, I literally would not know how to write trillion.
Same. I don't know either.
How many zeros are in a billion?
I don't know. I can only get past 1 million. I'll let you know when I start making that much money.
Let's see. How many zeros are in a billion?
Asking Siri.
I found this on the web.
Ah, perfect. So here's what they're telling us right now, you guys. There are... Oh, okay. In a million... Oh my God, there's so many. I can't even see. There's so many zeros that I literally can't see it to count.
Anyways, tell us about the bill.
There's 12 in a trillion.
Okay.
There's 12.
Wow.
So in the bill, we are getting, you guys, get ready. Give me a little drum roll here, Flo. We are getting $1,400. So we are getting $1,400, you guys. And if you're married, you're also both getting $1,400. They like to say $2,800, but you're both getting, everybody's getting $1,400. So like, you're getting $1,400, you're getting $1,400.
Thank you, Oprah.
Yeah, 6 years old, you're getting $1,400. So shout out to everybody that has 3-4 kids. We're about to do a little payday, but $1,400 we are getting out of this $1.9 trillion relief. How do you feel about that?
That's insane. I think it'll really help some people who are really hurting still due to the pandemic. However, the problem I have with it is that there are people in other countries that are going to get more money than us. We're giving away so many other countries money when I feel like we should be focusing more on the American people. That's my personal opinion. So don't shoot me for it.
Yeah, I think that I was on Facebook and I was looking at a bunch of people talking about like, oh, it just got passed. We're about to get that money, about to get that money, about to get that money. $1,400 doesn't cover anybody's life for 2 months. And I don't care if you pay $600, $500, $400 a month in rent. Mm-hmm. I mean, if we're doing the bare minimum, right? Let's say that you have a $400 rent. Let's say you have a $100 car payment. Let's say that it doesn't cover anything. It doesn't cover anything, and so we're looking. It's like, why is Iraq getting X amount of millions of dollars? Why are these places getting all this money? And I'll tell you why, you guys. It's because they have a fishing pole, the government, right? You ever seen that commercial where they throw out the fishing pole and then they're like reaching for it and it's like, oh, almost got it.
The dollar.
Yeah, the dollar, right?
Yeah.
That's America right now. And our government has the fishing pole and they got $1,400 at the end of it. They threw it out to us and we're reaching up for it. And then they're like, look at all of them. They're going to forget. They don't care what we're sending anywhere else. Nobody's going to read this relief package. Yeah. Hey, you know what? And those people that don't want to work, let's keep giving them $300 a week. You know why? Because they're not going to get a job. They're not going to go back to work. And they don't want to.
Yeah.
So they're going to
You're getting free money. Why would you want to work?
I have no idea. And you and I talked about it earlier. It's one of those things where it's keeping people oppressed.
Yeah.
It really is. It's keeping the people oppressed. People don't want to actually say how much they make. Do you know why? Because then you don't get the food stamps. People don't want to say how much you make. You know why? Because then you don't get your daughter or your son's free $2 lunch.
Right.
That you can't pull $2.
Or health care for your children.
Anything.
Yeah.
Anything. And you know what? I remember specifically growing up all the way from elementary through high school, either going in my mom's purse and getting my $2 to $3 or my mom giving it to me. And every day for lunch.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy about that is I think, you were around. My mom was stocking cards for American Greetings.
Yeah.
We were there Christmas Day, like putting cards up. And she had to take me with her. She worked out of a trailer selling Metabolife. Like, she didn't have a college degree. My dad never got a college degree. They had to do something that a lot of people don't understand, which is work.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I feel like this bill is great. We're gonna get $1,400. I mean, that's nice to put in your savings.
Yeah.
But these people that have real bills, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do you do with $1,400?
I don't know. I really don't know. That wouldn't cover my bills for a month.
No, it wouldn't cover anything. And that's where I feel like we're excited about it though, right? Like everyone's excited about this $1,400. Yeah. We're just staring up at it. And people are going to argue and say $1,400 is better than nothing.
Yeah, but other countries are getting more.
Right, but they don't care about that. That's something that they don't care about. Miss Urbina just said, why do our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren have to pay a lifetime bailing out certain states and countries? So she wants to know why everyone has to pay their whole life to bail out certain states and countries. This money right now that we're also sending and like that's being spent, We don't have money like that to just be giving out to other countries.
Right.
It's the mask rule, Flo. You said it yourself. You're so great at stating this. Put on our masks, save ourselves, then let's save people as we can.
Yeah.
Right.
You got to put your mask on first before you can help anyone else.
Right. And you know what's so crazy is we sit here and we're like, oh, we don't have money. We don't have money. We don't have anything. Like, oh, these poor people out in the streets. Like, oh, these poor immigrants in cages. We just made a $1.9 trillion bill. Are you telling me that we couldn't get anything nicer than cages for these kids?
Yeah.
Well, we could, but guess what? They aren't our kids. Yes, they're God's kids. I understand that. But we are in America. We are working citizens. People have busted their ass to get where we are today. And we're just giving money to people. Literally just giving money to people. I don't think it's fair. And if you guys have not researched what's in that relief package, I suggest doing so, because you're going to be pissed off when you realize you got $1,400. We all could have probably got out with $15,000 each. Every one of us.
Yeah.
Every one of us. Single
for a
or
whole
family.
year. Think about
You
it.
could
It's
have gotten
for a whole year. How much did we get? I was trying to think about it and do the math in my head, and I just can't right now because I have so many thoughts going through. But I remember I got a 1,200 stimulus,
a 600,
check, 600, and now the 14.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's
like what?
$3,200 you got
for a whole year. So people that
$3,200.
are actually not working, I mean, they have been getting unemployment, but some other people who hours have just been cut and they still don't meet the requirements to receive unemployment because they're still technically working part-time. How is 32 enough to live for a whole year?
Well, it's not. But that's the fishing hook dangling above us.
So you mentioned the other things that were in the bill,
right.
And there was one thing that okay, so we're getting the $1,400 stimulus, and every dependent, whether adult or child, that you filed your taxes with, will also get the $1,400. The other thing was the unemployment got extended. So now people are also going to get, and I think it's an additional like $300 a month. I mean, a week. Sorry,
a week. Yes, a week. $300 a week.
And
they're not getting taxed on these things.
Right. That's what I have a problem with. So people are receiving unemployment, and if you truly lost your job due to the pandemic, and for whatever reason you just haven't been able to get any other employment, I know you've got to eat, you have families, I'm okay with that. It's
right.
the people that take advantage of it that I have an issue with.
Right, the people that are hurting really bad, but they can't find another job, but reality is they just don't want the job that they could get.
Right.
That's the problem.
But the issue is that in this bill, it also states that for anyone who's been receiving unemployment for the first, it's like 10,000 and something, maybe like 10,400 or 10,500, for that first $10,000 that you were paid unemployment, you will not have to pay taxes on it. That's the part that bothers me, because I have been working from home since last March, like literally, I think like March 13th, like we're coming up on a year exactly. I have to pay taxes on every single dollar that I make.
Right.
These people are getting free money for not working. They've also been granted so many additional, at first I think it was like 600 additional a week. I know people were taking advantage of the fact because they were literally making more money on unemployment than they were making at their actual job when they worked. Right. Because of that extra 600 a week. And now I know it's been lowered to 300, but it's still free money. Like, you're still not doing anything to receive it.
Right.
And they're not being taxed on it. And I just don't think it's fair to have someone given free money and not taxed on it, but I'm working for my money and I'm getting taxed on every cent.
Right. No, I understand that. I do want to see here. Jason, Mr. Castillo said that's not the case for some. His wife's job shut down, so she gets unemployment. He said that we have 4 kids on online school. We don't send them to school in person yet because the school calls every other night. saying new cases of COVID-19.
I feel that.
Yeah, are popping up. So his wife can't work because of online school with 4 kids, and he said he doesn't want her working at nights because of all the shootings at night. Just bad things can happen. The nighttime, that's what it calls.
That's completely understandable.
What I do have a question though is, so for that, if we're doing the math correct, and I don't know the actual living situation, so the 4 kids and mom and dad, you'll be receiving, Mr. Castillo, $8,400 from this current relief package, which hopefully that can help you all and put you guys in a position where, financially, I know it's been a burden, especially not being able to go back to work or be able to find kind of an outlet on what do we do? What's the safe call here?
Hey, not to mention, just really quickly, having the kids home 24/7
is a full-time job.
Yeah, and they eat more.
Right.
They eat, you have to, we're using more power because they're here all day long. We're feeding them more. It's a lot more than just, they're just at home learning.
Right. Yeah, no, I feel for those parents and the families that are doing all of this. And, I think that we're going to be talking about, I think that we're going to be talking about next week what is going to be the next step when it comes to, are we ready to put kids back in school? I know that you're going back and forth on that one, Flo.
I do. Literally every day I'm like, okay, I'm ready. No, I'm not ready. And same thing, like what Jason said. I get the emails every day too. Another case. And it's sometimes 1 a day. Sometimes it's like 10 a day.
So, we're going to, you guys, Danny Garza hasn't been on recently. We just had some scheduling conflicts, but he's very much with us, and he'll be here next week on the podcast. But usually he's kind of our third person that we can kind of go back and forth with. So I'm going to kind of be Mr. Danny Garza right now for you, Flo.
Okay.
What is the deal with parents, though? Like, you're worried about your daughter getting COVID, right?
Right.
Why don't you, and it's like, I feel like I've asked you before, and you're like, well, I don't want to put her through a COVID test because it kind of hurts. I don't want it to go up her nose. Like, well, I don't want her to go get shots because this and that. At what point do you just say, hey, I need to suck it up. Let me go get my kid tested and see if she has antibodies. And then you can be in such a better spot. I mean, I just want to know, like, why aren't parents doing that?
The reason I don't want to do the antibodies test is they do have to pull blood. They do have to draw blood. And my daughter's a little drama queen. So, I don't really want to put her through that. But at the same time, I can go and pay the money and get her antibodies test today. And they can say, yeah, she has antibodies. At some point, she had the virus, maybe didn't have any symptoms. Maybe she was asymptomatic. Hey, I probably got it from her. Who knows,
Right.
But the problem is that we don't know how long the antibodies last. So I can literally get her tested today and they tell me, yeah, she's got antibodies, and we can go out into the world, and then next week they could be gone. Or tomorrow they could be gone.
Right.
We don't know if a doctor could come out and be like, everyone that has antibodies, you have antibodies for exactly 6 months starting today. Then, we could plan differently. We could do different things. But that's my issue with it. We don't know how long they last. So I kind of feel like it's pointless for me to go spend the money because, she's on my insurance plan. I have to meet my deductible before anything's free. So I don't know how much antibodies test is. But let's say it's $200. I'll pay the $200, but next week it could be pointless.
Right. But don't you feel as if she has the antibodies that she probably then did have it before and she was fine and she's going to be fine? So just move forward.
Again, we don't know enough about it to where we don't know. Like, I've been told if I catch COVID again, it could be 10 times worse. And mine was already really bad.
Right.
Not as bad as a lot of people, but mine was pretty bad. I'm afraid to catch it again because I don't know if it's going to be worse. Now, if I could go to the doctor and they'd be like, hey, if you catch COVID again, you're going to lose your taste and your smell for 3 days. I'll be like, okay, let's live life completely normal. But because I don't know that, that's what scares me.
Right. I don't know. I think like we're just on different sides of the spectrum for this because I really feel like at what point are kids going to become kids again? At what point do you realize that you're putting, it's like, I'll do anything to protect my child. I see parents sit there, have a conversation with me and say, I'll do anything to protect my child while they're sitting there smoking a cigarette. Right?
Yeah.
You know, I'll do anything to protect
No.
my child. But you know what? It's for me, I feel like COVID is taken our minds, all of us. It's taken us and it's scared us because if I said, hey, you talked about being on your health kick earlier and stuff like that,
Yeah.
right? And I'm on it as well. You know, why haven't either of us been like, if a doctor's like, hey, you know, you keep down this path, you're going to have a heart attack. Hey, you're going to have this. We know that, right?
Right.
But COVID just scares us because
of the unknown.
Right.
That's what I'm scared about.
But
because
we don't-
of the unknown. And because it affected us so differently. And from one person to the next, it is completely different. I just talked to a friend actually last night who was having severe like cognitive issues. And, you know, I struggled with it a little bit, and still here and there I have a little bit of issues. But she was having like serious, like, can't remember her name, you know, issues. And that's scary.
But don't you feel like that's with any kind of virus? Like, I mean, there's people that get pneumonia and they die because they literally got pneumonia and they died. And
Yeah,
I've had
but,
pneumonia. You've had it several
Right,
times.
but a lot of viruses, so if you have a stomach virus, everybody knows stomach virus comes with sometimes fever, sometimes vomiting, diarrhea.
Right.
You know, that's how things are diagnosed. When you go to
Right.
the doctor and you say, hey, this is hurting, this is hurting, this is hurting, this is what it is. You have whatever, you know?
Right.
That's the scary part about COVID, is that nobody's symptoms are exactly the same to where you can walk in. If that were the case, we wouldn't have to get tested. You just
Right.
walk in and be like, it's COVID because you said this, this, and this. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I agree. And unfortunately, though, and I hate to say it, and I don't want to be the Debbie Downer, but the way that the cases are and how, you know, people are losing their cognitive state, they don't know their name, to the next person whose tongue swelled up, to the next person who can't walk, to the next person who has a rash.
Yeah.
One has liver issues, one has heart issues. I hate to say it, you guys, but you either got to say, hey, we got to start living our lives and let our kids live our lives, because they're not going to know for another 15 years probably all of it. What if it is like AIDS? What if it's like that? What if it is one of these things where what if it's cancer?
Yeah.
What if we don't know and it's something that you get it and it can affect you and it can take you to where you recover, or it can take you to where you don't.
Yeah.
At what point do we say this is our new big disease that the world can face?
Yeah.
Such as, you know, these horrible illnesses that people can get and either recover or not recover from. You know, and that's what's getting scary, though, is at what point do we not shame people? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And for their decisions, because I want to be safe. I want you to be safe. I want the students to be safe, children. But I also feel like you and I played our cards as safe as we could.
Yep.
And we got it.
Still got it. Still ended up in the hospital.
And so I just really, it's hard for me to imagine. It's hard for me to imagine our world just going back to regular. But on that note, you guys, that was my back and forth, my little debate is I'm getting to a point now where I'm really wanting to see kids live a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's fair. But I want them to be protected. So, you know, if that means, I don't know, you guys, how about just make a better mask? That's a thought. That's
I know.
That's
Why
food
haven't
for
we
thought.
come up with that?
I don't know why. We should all sit down together if you guys want to ponder a little bit and create a great mask. We could be billionaires.
Yeah.
And then we could fund another 1.9 trillion at one point. So I want to end, you guys. We have just about 2 minutes left. I want to end on a topic that I want to hear y'all's input. So I'm going to kind of stay quiet. And the topic is George Floyd. So the most infamous, I feel like, in my lifetime, racially injustice movement has happened once George Floyd, who is an African-American man that I know, if you're tuning in, you've either heard the name, you know what he looks like, you saw the funeral on TV, you've heard of the marches, you've seen the riots, you are in the know of what's kind of happened with this man. They are actually doing the trials right now for Derek Chauvin, who is the officer who bent down and knelt on his neck for, I believe, a total of 9 minutes.
Right.
And during that time, George Floyd was commentating, saying that commenting saying that he couldn't breathe. I want to just kind of get your input on here, not yours even right now, Flo. Let's hear if anyone is tuned in right now listening. I'm going to stay quiet for a second. If you can write in, if you've been watching the George Floyd case, or even if you haven't, what is your stance? Should the cop get tried for first-degree murder? Should he be in prison for life? Should he get the death penalty? Or should he be let free and be on a probation? What do you guys think? Whenever you guys have the time, just go ahead and let us know. We're going to sit back and kind of go quiet for the next 30 to 45 seconds. Few more seconds, you guys. If you're tuned in, just go ahead whenever you're ready. Just let us know if you have anything to say about the topic for George Floyd, what you think about the officer who knelt on his neck, if he should be tried for first-degree murder, if he should be let go. Let us know. We'll do about 20 more seconds. All right, you guys. So we are going to be logging off here. We're going to start our next episode next Thursday. We're going to be going in depth with our opinions.
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Jason Castillo just commented. He believes life in prison.
Life in prison. Okay, so we have that comment. So Jason Castillo said life in prison for the accused murderer of George Floyd. So I'm glad that you are kind of giving that feedback, Jason, because we want to be able to kind of go back and forth with our listeners, and we are going to be talking about this a lot next Thursday. We're going to be talking about the case. We're going to be talking about George Floyd. We're going to be talking about the officers. And I also want to talk about what happens when we move forward. We're going to move forward, and with these police officers, what is going to happen? And Jason, go ahead and start preparing. You're one of our favorite listeners that we have. We're super excited. We are going to be doing another giveaway also soon, so make sure you're listening for that. But next week, I want to talk about what's going to happen, you guys, if he does not get tried for that. Are we going to be in a very dark place as far as riots, burning down the cities?
Yeah.
And then if so, who's responsible and who's going to be to blame? And so I want us to talk about it heavy next Thursday. So if you have not done your homework, you do not know a lot about the case of George Floyd, let us know what you think. And I just want to end right now. Miss Urbina, some of the messages you guys come through a little bit late, but Miss Urbina said that she was told that she would not make it through another round of COVID.
I'm not sure that I would either, to be honest with you.
Right. And I know Miss Urbina is very, very strong. She's a wonderful mother, super hardworking. She's gone through a lot of trials, tribulations, not only just in life with kind of getting herself out of a lot of different things. She's so strong, but she's also been a strong battler of cancer.
Yeah.
And she's still fighting that battle. So Miss Urbina, you're always in our prayers, and cancer can take down anyone. you're a little bit different though. You're not just anyone. You're a little bit you got something there. So just keep fighting. Your daughter's a fighter. I can't wait to see you guys next week also. But we are praying for you, and for anyone out there that's listening, thank you for listening to us. If you also have any prayer requests or anything like that, or anyone that you'd like us to talk about or recognize, just let us know, because not only do we want to talk politics, we want to talk people.
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest thing, is not just recognizing one political party, one agenda, one race. We want to talk about it all. And so that's why it's really important next Thursday that we talk about George Floyd, because I myself do not agree with kneeling on somebody's neck for 9 minutes. But I have a lot of other opinions about that as well.
Same. I can't wait to share them. Also, you guys, if you guys have any questions or comments, if you're listening to this recording later on and not on with us right now live, you can always feel free to message us or even comment on the video itself, and let us know if you have any topics. We've had a few people reach out with topics they wanted us to talk about. So if you guys have any suggestions, this is our first time doing this podcast, and we're enjoying it, and we hope you are all enjoying it as well. But if you have any suggestions or any questions or anything like that, let us know. Hit us up.
Absolutely, you guys. And on that note, we are going